For more than a century, written language was seen by anthropologists and other social scientists as a definitional feature of societal complexity or advancement, a term that is tinged with colonialism and racism. But in a new study in the Journal of Social Computing, researchers have found that societies don't need written languages to be large or have complex governments. In a systematic, comparative survey of pre-colonial Mesoamerican societies, the study's authors found that some large population centers had written systems of communication, but others did not. At the same time, the centers that had more elaborate computational and writing systems tended to be more autocratic, top-down ruler-dominated governance, than the ones without. The development of writing was thought to be a characteristic of civilizations or large-scale societies, says Gary Feynman, the MacArthur Curator of Anthropology at Chicago's Field Museum and the study's first author. Our findings both question and refine that long-entrenched assumption by illustrating that the relationship between the scale of social networks and computation systems also must take into account how people were organized and the resultant networks of communication. This relationship is not simply a matter of efficiency. History and how people were organized and communicated are key. The upshot, Feynman says, is that, in pre-Hispanic Mesoamerica, the overall elaboration of computational systems like writing, mathematics, and calendars are not directly correlated. They do not necessarily become more elaborate or efficient over time. Many of the dominant paradigms in the study of the human past have a Western or Eurasian bias that does not hold up to close scrutiny with data from other parts of the world. Even in societies without written records, researchers are able to determine political structure by examining the archaeological remains of buildings and features like palaces. By comparing the remains of residences, public buildings, settlement layout, burial contexts, and monuments, researchers are able to glean information about how a society was governed and how power and wealth were distributed. The relationships they found between writing and societal complexity were, in a word, complex. There wasn't a clear linear relationship between the size of a society and whether it had writing. But they did find a link between writing and political organization. Writing tended to appear more often in societies with autocratic rulers, think all-powerful leaders, than in societies where power was more evenly shared. That might seem backwards. Knowledge is power, right? Surely, you might think, societies with writing would be better able to communicate across vast distances and give more people the opportunity for knowledge. Because it's a complex writing system, the number of people who could absorb it was restricted by wealth or class, and you were conveying to those people information that both legitimized your leadership role and may have expressed your relationship to other elites. In this case, writing wasn't a. They also found that writing systems weren't necessarily correlated with societies that needed to communicate with people far away. I don't think writing was primarily to convey messages to people over long distances. Most written texts were not portable at that time. If you wanted to convey information to a large number of people, they would come to a place and you'd have some sort of activity in that place, which would rely on mostly verbal speechifying, says Feynman. In previous work, Feynman, with colleagues, has shown that societies with big power imbalances tend to be the ones that are somewhat less sustainable, and that seems to align with the findings in this study. In Mesoamerica, I think it's pretty clear that the more collectively organized polities with less quote-unquote complex writing systems actually tend to be more endurable, more sustainable, he says. Another key finding of the study is that even when societies developed an elaborate writing system, like the classic Maya, they didn't always stick with it. Technologies that seem to be more elaborate or efficient are not always embraced or retained. The study is important in a broader context of understanding the human past in showing that the evolution and spread of technologies, including in communication and computation, don't always happen in. They are developed and adopted or rejected by people within specific social and historical contexts. The researchers aim to reframe the way that archaeologists look for and define social complexity. I think it's important not just to look at the presence, absence, or elaborateness of communication systems, but it's important to look at who communicated with who and the kinds of messages sent, says Feynman. The study illustrates the importance of how we're organized. Humans are a really unique combination of being really good cooperators but also selfish. Our work helps show the complexity of that balance, which underpins the ebbs and flows of human history. Explore the latest scientific research on sleep and dreams in this free online course from New Scientist. Sign up now. Materials provided by Field Museum. Note: content may be edited for style and length. Gary M. Feynman, David M. Carballo. Communication, Computation, and Governance. A Multiscalar Vantage on the Pre-Hispanic Mesoamerican World. Journal of Social Computing, 2022. 3. 1, 91 doi. 10. 23919, JSC. 2021. 0015 Field Museum. Writing is not present in all complex societies, but it can signal inequality. Mesoamerican societies with more elaborate writing systems tended to have less shared power. Science Daily. Science Daily, the 11th of February 2022. ift.tt/5jfatal. Field Museum. 2022, February 11th. Writing is not present in all complex societies, but it can signal inequality. Mesoamerican societies with more elaborate writing systems tended to have less shared power. Science Daily. Retrieved February 11, 2022 from ift.tt/5jfatal Field Museum. Writing is not present in all complex societies, but it can signal inequality. Mesoamerican societies with more elaborate writing systems tended to have less shared power. Science Daily. https://ift.tt/5jfatdl. Accessed February 11, 2022. Please support my channel to grow by pressing subscribe button and the bell icon. We will notify you technological news. Thank you.